Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a comparison video between these two figures, Series 7 Deputy Rick Grimes Walgreens Exclusive, and just Series 2 Rick Grimes over here. So, the reason I decided to take these two to compare is because they are around the same timeline, because this is like Series 1 Rick, and this is early Season 2 or late Season 1 Rick, and they both have the same head sculpt. So, if you are looking to get this head sculpt, then I'm going to tell you in this video which one is the better way to get it. So to start off, let's take a look at this one here. And what I'm going to be showing you guys is just the paint apps, the articulation, and the accessories, and then I suppose you can decide for yourself which one is the better one, but I will probably tell you by the end of the video. So to start off here, let's take a look at one of the biggest flaws of this Series 7 Rick, and that is his eyes. Now this one's not so bad as most of them, but I actually own two of these guys, and I can tell you honestly that they all have really bad eyes. Let me see if I can get some light in here. It's a little hard because of, yeah, it's just kind of, I think you can kind of see that there, yeah. So because of his hat, the way it is, it's kind of hard to show you what his face looks like. Maybe if I do it like that. There we go, upside down, cross-eyed Rick Grimes. Yeah. I wish I had a bigger light that I could just shine underneath, but whatever. That's what his face is sculpted like, and that's what the paint is, and it's not horrible. I mean, the eyebrows are a little weird. They stretch like across his face there. Yeah, but everything else is on point, except for that one eye is just off to the side. If it weren't for that eye, he'd actually look really good. And that's his main flaw there. Overall, the rest of the paint apps are very clean. You can see Sheriff's Department over here and over here. Looks very nice. And, I mean, basically there's no complaints with the paint other than that. And I like the dirtiness they put on him. Like, on his shoes you can see there's some dirt added, and then there's a black wash over his entire suit here. And that looks pretty good. He's got a little silver band there. Now let's take a look at the paint on the Series 2 Rick. The paint is not exactly this guy's strong point, because just to start out, his shirt looks way too dirty. It's got like this gross brown stuff all over on this side, and then some blood on this side, and it's not put on there very well, really. It looks kind of like Kool-Aid, less than blood. It looks like if you tried to wash out a bunch of blood that you got on you, and it would look pinkish. That's basically what this looks like, and that's not what it's supposed to look like, so yeah, this should definitely be a lot more white. I prefer Rick Grimes when he has less of a poopy colored shirt. And other than that, the paint apps on him are okay. I mean, his arms don't really match up to his body. They should be dirtier in comparison to the main torso here, or maybe the torso should be cleaner in comparison with the arms here, but whatever. Then on his face, the eyes tend to be pretty good. I mean, there's nothing all that bad with this guy's eyes. They always look off to the side, though, which looks weird. And his beard paint looks pretty cool. It's sculpted, and then it has a little bit of a dark wash that goes into all that, and that looks pretty good. The hat's nice, very nice golden. But as for paint apps, on the body, this guy's failing, but on the face, he's good. Whereas on this guy, the body is fine, there's nothing wrong, but then the face is a bit of a problem. Now let's take a look at Sculpt. We already can see that the head sculpt is actually pretty good. I'd say it looks like Andrew Lincoln. You can get a nice profile shot there. I think his profile looks the best. I can see Andrew Lincoln there, can't you? Dead on still kind of looks like him. Yeah. And then the body sculpt looks pretty good. It's a little thick. I mean, I know it's supposed to look billowy because of the looseness of the shirt, but it also kind of makes him look chunky. And because he's leaning over in like a crouching, holding his gun in this position type pose, that sort of screws with the overall look, you know? Not a huge fan of that. But his body's also sculpted in a way that it's just like meant to be in one pose, and if you put it in another, it doesn't look so right. But that's not the worst part, I guess. Still, it has a nice shirt sculpt, and the wrinkles are all nice, and then the pants look pretty good. Again, his hips look wide here, and then, yeah, his thighs look a bit wide. he looks a little bit more hefty than the actor would ever look. So that's a bit of a falling down. And then his head sort of looks a little squat on there. I think it's the size of his neck. If his neck was a little bit taller, that would look a lot better. So sculpt on this guy is not all that great, and especially if you take in for account his hands. They look very stubby. Very stubby indeed. Look at that pointer finger. That's like extremely tiny. He's got baby hands. I got the baby hands. And then on this side, you can see it's in one basic pose, which is a problem when it comes to holding stuff. His thumb is not placed in a way that can hold anything. So that's another falling down. So he can only hold with this hand, but with all the accessories he comes with, it kind of makes you wish you could put the walkie-talkie in this hand and then the baseball bat or the gun or something. Because he does come with quite a few accessories here, if you can just see. And I mean, there are ways to get this in his hand so it'll stay, but that's all just using balance, because he does not have any grip. Overall, though, the sculpt is nice. It's not good. I mean, in comparison to what they can do later on with the figures, I think it's extremely small. Not very good at all. Now we have Series 2 Rick Grimes, and let's take a look at his sculpt. Now, I'm just going to point out the first thing that I hate the most is his belly kind of sticks out there, and the shirt has a point right here. It's like a very sharp edge, whereas it should like be tucked into his shirt and not stick out. It is very jagged looking there. That's the first problem that I have. Just like right off the bat, that gives me trouble. First time I saw him, I was like, that doesn't look right. Then on his arms, they look a little long. I'm not sure why. It's probably because of the sculpt of the hands, but the arms probably don't help either. They're made in a weird way. And I know this is just them starting out with the figures, so you can't blame them for having some learning process errors, but it does look pretty bad. And then his hands are so giant here, and his fingers stick out. He's got like the opposite problem of this guy. Whereas this guy has stubby hands, this guy has, I guess, like skeletal hands. They're really ridiculous. Look at that finger. And that is a problem when it comes to posing him with the gun. His finger just won't go in there. You kind of have to just set it around the trigger guard. And he does hold the gun in that way, but it's not the desired effect. Let's just put it that way. Again, the face sculpt is fine because it's the same sculpt. Nothing wrong there. The arms look weird, yeah. The shirt is very wrinkly and is not complementary to his physique. That's why when I use this torso for customs, I always like sand down this part first. I make it thinner, make him look a little less chunky wonky. Then his bottom legs are nice, actually. It's really good sculpt on these legs. I have no complaints about the sculpt on the legs. My later complaints with these legs will come with the articulation, but the sculpt looks really nice. If he were a statue, I'd say, bravo, bravissimo, looks like nice wrinkly jeans. And then he's got some little supplies on his belt here, like I guess speed loaders and cuffs, and then the little gun holster there. So on sculpt, who wins? I guess this guy has the better-ish sculpt, maybe? I don't know. It's sort of a toss-up. I'd say this one actually has the better sculpt. I just say that because looking at them right here, I don't like looking at this guy as much as I like looking at this guy, even though he looks squat and stubby. But which one got closest to Andrew Lincoln's body? I guess this one. Okay, now we're going to do the articulation. Oh no, wait. Accessories. Let's do the accessories first. So, Series 7 here comes with a baseball bat that can fit in his one hand here. And it's a very nice looking baseball bat. I really like that he came with a baseball bat because I did use this for my Negan custom. And it looks really nice. You can set it in the other hand, have him like holding it in a weird pose. And I do believe he only used this once in Season 1. Yeah. But they gave it to him anyway. And yeah, it's just basically nice. There's nothing all that detailed on it. Then he comes with this Beretta, I guess. And it's very dull looking, just it looks wrong. And then it's kind of thin looking as well. No huge complaints, just, it's not a very good pistol. But luckily that's not where the accessories end. He also has his signature pistol here, his revolver, and it fits in his hand fairly nicely. You can hold it nicely, and it's very well sculpted and painted. No complaints about the pistol. And then his walkie-talkie, which also fits in his hand. Of course, none of this stuff will fit in this hand. But this is a nice walkie-talkie. It's got a little bit of detail, like that green part there, and then the little gray dots, and then everything else is just sculpt. So that's his accessories, and I like those accessories quite a bit, actually. Of all the accessories that I've seen, I'd gotta say he's got the best. I mean, just comparing to other figures that I've seen from overall series, the baseball bat I really like. The walkie-talkie works well. Nice to have an extra pistol, and then his signature pistol is sort of an upside. So let's take a look at the other figures' accessories now. He comes with, this is that thing that they use to grab the walkers. This is actually a farm tool, so I'm not a fan of this one. It's just very plasticky and regular. If this didn't come with him, I'd just figure that it's some sort of piece to some farm tool, what do you call it? One of those old Fisher Price type stuff. It's just, there's nothing all that detailed on it. There's nothing that looks all that cool. It's just basic, and he can't really hold it all that well. Just stick it in this hand and it's a little loose. And then when you have his alternate hand that's huge, you can also put it in there and have him hold it like this. But yeah, just overall, not a fan of that accessory. Now let's take out his pistol. This again is a very nice accessory, and I think it's probably the same as the Series 7 Ricks. Looks nice, has a little bit of a hammer over there. And let me grab this. And then he comes with a rifle. Now for the rifle I'm going to have to pull out separate hands. Here's another hand of his, and again ridiculous looking. Way too big for his proportions. And let's stick that in his hand. And it is just not easy to get in there. Then you swing it over here and put it in his hands. So he holds it fairly well. He can't point it up to his eye or anything. And the sculpt on it is very good, I guess. It's not the best type of rifle to sculpt because it's very plain looking, but yeah, it looks nice. It's got the scope. This front part is always a little weak though, and kind of worry about that breaking. And then he does come with an alternate hand, left hand as well. And that's his relaxed hand. So he comes with 4 different hands, so that's not bad. That's a bit of an upside. And this hand is probably the only hand that he comes with that doesn't look ridiculous. Like, this hand here looks off. This hand, just, yeah. And this one has his ring finger on it. I mean, it has his ring on it. So that looks nice. Although there's not much you can do with that hand because it can't hold anything. So that right there ends his accessories. So now let's move on to articulation. Okay, now for articulation, let's start out with the upper body. His head can do a full rotation. It can look up this much and look down that much. Quite a bit. And his arms can do a full rotation at the shoulder. Can move up to about a right angle to his body. And then they can move down to that. Then at his elbow, full rotation, can move up to way past a 90-degree angle, and then way down. Very nice. And then he has a rotation at his wrist, as well as a rotation further up on the wrist, so that's 2 rotations. And then he can do the scratching at a wall pose or rolling the dice. Very nice. And then the articulation on the other arm is basically the same, but it does have some differences, whereas you can see it can move like that, basically the same there, but at the elbow is where it gets different. He can do a full rotation, but can't quite get his arm to a 90-degree bend, which is a problem when it comes to posing with the rifle. Then his wrist, he can do, of course, the 2 rotations, and then he can do those other poses. Now, at the bottom waist here, he can do a slight amount of rotation, not much. Whereas this figure, let's see, the head can turn to the sides like this, not quite a full rotation at all. I can turn this much to this side and this much to this side. It's hindered by the collar, which is very close to his face. Then he can look up like barely at all, but he can look down quite a bit. And then his arms, he's got full rotation, which is weird because it turns at an angle, probably because of the design of his body. Then it can move up to past a right angle to his body. Then at the elbow, he can do full rotation actually at the bicep instead of having it at the elbow, where it's at the elbow it's a single hinge that can take it to not quite a 90-degree angle. And then his wrist has a rotation as well as the scratch at a wall pose thing, but it's not one of those things where you can do 2 articulations. It can only move in and out. And then on the other side, it can do the same rotation, can move up to about a right angle, and then the rotation at the bicep, and this arm can move a little bit more in. It can bend inward a bit more, see that? Yeah. So just compare those 2 sides. Yeah. This is way past the 90-degree angle, and then he can do the spin and then in and out again. Then at the waist, there is no rotation at all. Okay, now with the legs, yeah, Series 2 Rick can barely move at all, but let's show you what he can do. He can spread his legs into a weird, I guess, sitting down position-ish, and then you can rotate his feet to make him look like he's actually sitting down, so yeah, not much there. And when it comes to kicking, not very good. He has a sort of Y cut where at his hips here there's just 1 cut rotation, and when he moves it just rotates the leg, but it doesn't do much there. So then at the feet he's got these hinged joints actually, so it's hinged to go up and down a little bit, no rotation, but it can spin to a full 360 degrees, and it's about the same articulation on the feet on both sides. And now his legs, he has the same Y cut where it spins like that. It's a little bit hindered by his gun holster here, which is made out of a harder plastic than the other figure. Then that can move full 360 on this side, and he can kick out like that much because of it. So it's actually kind of useful, but not as good as the new versions. So there's him kicking out. Okay, now at the thigh here, he can do a swivel, full 360 degrees, which is kind of nice when you're getting him in a kicking pose. You can turn the leg like this, except for it still looks a little odd because of that big bulge there. So let's bring that back down. And now his knees can bend to not quite a 90-degree angle at all. And this one can bend to almost a 90-degree angle. So not bad. But then at his feet, there is just the slightest bit of articulation. It's very hindered by the sculpt of the pants, which has the pant leg like reaching down to his feet there. And because of that, he can only rotate up and down a little bit. And not very much, but a little side to side. So a little bit of a pivot, not much. And it's about the same on both sides. So after taking into consideration all of the pros and cons of these guys, I'm going to have to say the winner is Series 7 Rick Grimes. Now I say this because his articulation has a lot to do with it. Whereas I do like the Series 2 Rick still, he's not the superior figure. His sculpt is slightly okay, the paint is just not all that great. He's good for using for customs and stuff, but not so much as the figure that he is. I just gotta admit, the pants, the whole non-articulated legs ruins it for me. Even though this guy doesn't have the greatest articulation in his legs, he is a bit more cool because of that, and it just outweighs this guy totally. Tell me what you guys think is better, which one you think is the superior figure, and which one you would recommend to a friend or anyone in particular at all. And I also like the accessories that came with Series 7 Rick better, just saying. Okay, so make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure to tell me what you guys think about the video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.